women and men in the cockpit together and some of the stories that we hear. Welcome to Cockpits and Cocktails, the lively aviation podcast, where we talk about all things aviation and aerospace. So please grab a cocktail and let's chill out and talk about some aviation. Hi, welcome to this episode of Cockpits and Cocktails. I am Natalie Flygirl Kelly, and I am here with my co-host today,
Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
You gotta say it really long.
Hi, Stephanie. So you and I always toss out ideas of episodes and Cooper as well. And today I think we have a really good one that I know we both fly with men occasionally, and we hear stories about things that happen with men and women in the cockpit. And I wanted to share some of those sometimes funny stories, sometimes not so funny, and how it's been for ages and ages and ages, and what women kind of have to navigate around and maybe come up with some good solutions.
Yeah. So I have people that are not pilots, and they've made comments like, your husband lets you fly with men, and it's like, oh, first of all, he doesn't let me do anything, like but I'm like, do you know how I don't have a lot of female pilots to actually fly with. I have to meet up and get like I it's great when I can. I absolutely love it. And I love even more flying with like a female when they're just starting out, because I remember that, how just like inspiring I felt. I don't need people to be inspired by me, but I just mean like to know like, oh, I'm flying with a badass woman. And, I would always think that certain flight instructors at a different school that I first started out, like I always felt like some of them were like, oh, it's a girl, she's never going to learn, or she's not, you know. So, but I get random comments from people in GA or, any type of aviation. And then weird comments also from people that have, never been in a small plane. So it's funny, or even situations, not just comments, but situations. There's this guy, one of my first flight instructors in a Cirrus. So I'm not really good with telling you what other types of planes there are, but I know they're like trim tabs. I know that even flaps, some planes are like way down low and you gotta move it. So my trim tab is just on my yoke, very simple, but my flaps are just like to the right, just a little bit of my throttle, and it's just almost like a knot, like a switch. Basically, we're just going from 50 to 100. So not, it's in the middle, going down the middle of, but closer to the co-pilot. And my very first Cirrus instructor, who's definitely not listening to this podcast, I guarantee you, we never meshed well. We were like polar opposites. Like, I'm bubbly, I don't shut up. I would be like, oh fuck, and he would be like, fiddlesticks. It was like, okay, I need to really control. Like, I got to teach him how to curse, or he. But he one time, not one time, but he would, it was almost, it weirded me out, because I felt like, does he think that I'm actually trying to bump his leg? Because I'm totally not. It would be putting my flaps up, and it would just be like, just like, even if it's just a tiny little brush of my arm on his leg, he would like move as far as what I didn't need you to do any of that. Like, you could just sit there and know that you're in the same plane. You know that I'm putting flaps up and that my arm might touch you. Or like somebody could reach over when I first learned how to was learning how to fly, and they need to start it from they're in the right seat. You have to reach over and start it and teach me
Yeah.
how. But
Yeah.
like I back out of the way. But like if somebody bumped into me, it wouldn't be um uh, like it's a tight space. I wouldn't assume that somebody was doing anything. But
Totally. Yeah.
I do think that I've been in a situation where a weird he was a nice person, but he always seemed to be like, I don't know if he was hitting on me or if it was his personality, but like he would go out of his way to like, oh, his arm stayed on my leg a little bit longer than it should.
Mm,
Um,
mhm,
and it put you in a really like for me, like it puts you in a really weird position
mhm.
when I went from a different flight instructor, and he just kind of like, listen, I know it's a newsflash, but like women have boobs. I
Mhm.
know that, like,
Yeah.
but when they like lean over and they're like, they had plenty of room to not bump on your,
Yes.
chest.
Yes.
Um, that's a situation that you get yourself in where you don't know. Do I say something because I don't want like it's not my job, but it's my flight school. Like, is this going to teach if I don't like, how do you speak up? What would you do? And it happened more and more and more. And it was clearly like, I'm not making it up in my mind. Who's trying to touch my boob?
Yeah.
Yep,
I
that's
like
where it starts as like a cycle then because you don't want it to become a pattern because you didn't speak up. It's super fucked up that like we have to like figure out how to talk to somebody who's basically groping someone.
Yeah, well,
And
I
I
think we
mean,
know. I mean, I think men may not think that we know, but we know
yeah,
when
is it that they
there's
actually think that we don't realize that they're doing it?
or it's either that or they don't think we'll say anything, or they know that they can say, "Oh, you're being silly. It was just an accident." There's no way to
Like,
prove
or
it's
it's a tight
a
space.
malicious thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I do have an Insta 360 and my GoPros.
Oh.
That I wish like people would do. I wonder if you could do that in corporate. I don't know. I wonder if like other
Well, you
people
would
in that
have to
situation.
be like to record in a like one of the jets or something I fly with. Even when I take pictures, I
Mhm.
usually make sure to white out or black out the tail number.
Absolutely, yeah. But what if you're recording, like you set up a camera, which I think would be really cool because I don't I've only seen like you know, what do you fly now? Which jet is it? Is it
Um, Citation,
a citation?
mostly Citation XL.
Okay. I couldn't remember, but there's two citations at my airport and I've got to see one like up close, but I've actually never been in. I think it would be freaking badass. You don't even have to show the inside, but show like how it is, facing you. I think that would
Yeah,
be cool.
yeah, I do
But
try to
we're
do that, and I think the
completely
problem
off subject now, but
the problem is like you'd have to get permission if you had clients in the back as well. They
you
wouldn't
don't
want
shut the
any
door.
chance of being like filmed or
I
anything.
didn't know if the door shut. Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
the other pilot, like the captain, I mean, there are some people that don't mind it, but I'd say most do because they're afraid. Maybe
Yeah,
they
it could
do
do
something
something.
exactly the
Yeah.
way that someone would want it to, and then they could get in trouble. It's just like
Yeah,
much easier
yeah.
to not have any kind of recording.
So yeah, so then I guess in that situation, yeah, there's no proof. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that any I think if someone would come up to like if it's a job, like for me, I can just change flight instructors if I didn't like that. But if it's somebody's job or a female that like finally, you know, even if she made like captain or something, and for American,
Mhm.
you get in that position where you don't want to say anything because you don't want to jeopardize your job. You don't want to also cause stress with somebody you're probably gonna have to fly with again.
Yeah.
And, And then, but the thing is, for me, if I had to come out of my way to bring this subject up, it's uncomfortable and it clearly happened. It's not a who, do, like, if that was me, I would not, I don't know. Like, you can't be like, oh, why did Stephanie say that?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to even be talking about it. So that's a big, I wonder if this would be a great conversation to try to like, maybe we can I can FaceTime you sometime and we could or go live or something on
Yeah.
Insta and just ask like what would you do in this situation in the comments because oh or just even a poll of how many people
Yeah, totally.
but
Well, I mean, so NGA, I don't think, I think every woman faces the same kind of things where guys are, especially if you land and you fly and then you walk out of the cockpit and a lot of, men are like, oh, wow, or if you're with like, if I take my boyfriend on a flight or something and we both go eat or something, then they're kind of like, they just immediately look at him like he's the pilot.
oh
Oh, where did you flew in? What did
absolutely
you fly today? And I was like, actually, I flew and
yeah 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 I was flying somewhere I might have mentioned this already so somebody listening I was flying to this one airport and one of my best friends I always joke he's my attorney he's not actually my attorney but I'll be like oh I flew my attorney he had to go to a hearing up there and I had said I'm flying there today and I'm flying there on the weekend too so I was like, if you're willing to fly with me, you're welcome to come along. And it saved him on however many hours. And he gets out of the plane, and the line, the line guy says, "Do you need any fuel?" And he like, I mean, first of all, the guy's wearing a suit, a tie, and he
yeah,
looks like he has no idea what you're saying. I mean, he's
yeah,
like, I don't know.
yeah,
And then he
yeah.
turns and he's like, Steph, do we need any gas? And then I said, yeah, we'll have to fill it. And he's like, um, yes. She said yes. Like, and then I'm just like, and I said, and his name is John. I said, John, this happens. Like, this isn't, normally I am flying with actual pilots. So, but it doesn't matter if they are a pilot or an attorney, it
Yeah.
will happen no matter what.
Yes. Right. Totally.
And I had someone, I was at an air show, this time last year. And I like to put my colored Bose headsets on my seats, and I had this other brand that was bedazzled, but the headset never worked, but it was like pink and bedazzled. She like I like they can put them on if they'd like, if they're not they don't have to put the mic up to their mouth. I was talking to an older man and he was definitely he could have been my grandfather and he was
Mhm.
standing there talking and a man walks up and says, "Hey," looks right at the older gentleman and says, "Can I let my son see inside your plane?" And like we're standing next to the hot pink tail numbers,
Yeah.
you can see the pink inside. You can see, and I'm like,
Hello. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like things like that, like it's so super weird.
It is weird, but you can't. I mean, it's not like it's not a I mean, I get it. I know why. There's not that
Hmm
many women pilots, so they're going to naturally probably assume it's the
hmm
male that's flying.
Yeah,
Um, and
it's
every time, like I wear a Fly Girl shirt, like when I fly
yes. Oh, I do
commercially,
love
and usually I get asked, "Oh, are you a flight attendant?"
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well,
and I
I
love
it's
saying, "No,
funny.
actually, I'm a pilot."
Yeah, and this is my brand.
That's right. I've encountered more, like it's been kind of eye-opening more in the corporate world and talking to other female pilots that are kind of doing the same thing I'm doing. Some of the scenarios that we've faced.
Yeah.
So I can say, there's stories of captains or PICs reaching over. and brushing against boobs and in a situation that, and women, like I said, women know if it's necessary. There's a lot more room in a big airplane
Yeah.
to cross and not crush. And you can't say anything because you are jeopardizing your chances of flying with that person again, or he could get very defensive. There's no proving it unless you did have a camera in there.
Right.
And you either have to decide, do I want to say something and risk losing this opportunity, or am I just going to put up with it? And putting up with it sucks. It's kind of like
it could lead to more
it's
things.
gross.
Yeah, it can lead to very much
That's
more
right.
things than
It just because it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, and I don't know, like if that, like, what would I say if that was me and I had like um I was a private charter, or
I know what I mean. It's like, if I could, like, what can you say? You need to think of something kind of like funny to kind of diffuse the situation.
Yeah,
Let them know that
he's
it
going to
happened.
continue to do it. That's where it gets me, is that it's going to continue to happen if nothing is said, and because the the behavior's not welcomed, but like, yeah, I don't know, like, if
I guess
that
if
was
you're
me,
listening and you have encountered
please,
this, maybe you let us know what you could say.
I think we should, one of the nights, if you have time, we should just go live for a quick, um, or if I can, yeah, like, either we go live or we do it somehow that we can record our faces just to actually hear the conversation. I
Yeah.
would love to see the comments, because listen, I'm not saying every guy, and I think you're not saying that as well.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
listen, I love boobs. I tell my daughter, like, I'm like, I mean, she's obviously in college, but I'm like, yo, everybody loves boobs, okay? But it's it's about, like, you don't go out of your way, and you don't, it's completely unacceptable, and that's where I'm thrown off by the fact that people, like, dude, no, like,
Well, if it was a
it's
guy,
not the
okay.
small
So
plane.
the problem is it creates like this dynamic already
Mhm,
where you are submitting if you're going to let him do it
mhm.
to you, and that already sets up the tone that he's in charge.
Yep.
And it's like this undertone. And whenever I watch these shows about air disasters or something, that
Mhm.
it's always like the co-pilot that didn't speak up and say anything
Right. Oh,
into a bad
I
situation.
agree. Yes.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like it puts you in this position from that point on of, okay, if I take that, then that is sending him a message that he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And this is
Well,
like,
right.
men don't understand what like brushing boobs is like. It's like, this is personal space.
Right.
Very
And that's what
personal
I mean. Like,
space.
some people, I have my humor. I tell people all the time, like, listen, I could die tomorrow, and I am going to continue. My life is, I laugh. I have a great relationship at home. I enjoy, we're polar opposite, but he's always like, you crack me up all the time. I am going to be, like, jokingly, like, oh, let's draw a dick on the floor flight, but I didn't, again, I didn't do that. But the thing is,
Yes.
just because I make jokes, or like with my hand surgery, I made the joke, and I'm gonna, because somebody's always gonna be like, oh, what'd you do with that hand that you got it in a cast? So
Mhm.
yes, I make the joke, like, oh, I shouldn't have kept using my dominant hand. These jobs, I should bounce back and forth. But because I am making a joke, or because I think we're all going to laugh about it, or something, does not mean, or even the dress I'm wearing. I don't mind. I've paid a lot of money for lots of plastic surgery. So I don't mind wearing clothing that hugs my body. I have no problem with the way, I don't care if I'm a little bit thicker than most women, but I like the way I look, but it does not mean that because I have big boobs that I'm asking for anything, or
Mhm.
because I make a joke, that does not mean that I'm asking or I'm out there giving out, you know, hand jobs. I didn't. It's arthritis. Okay. That is why I had hand surgery. It's a weird thing that somebody would think like, oh, well, you're always making jokes. Uh, but that doesn't mean I act on anything. Like,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
don't
Right.
ask for anything.
Yeah.
I can make the joke because I know you're already looking at my boobs. So
Hmm.
I'll make the joke about the boobs.
Hmm.
But it's a weird thing that like I don't
Doesn't
want.
mean all of a sudden you can
Mm,
decide what you're going to do to my body or
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah,
Right.
it's weird that like, so if I wore an oversized sweatshirt, I wouldn't feel happy. It's for me.
Hmm.
Like like everybody knows I've had boob jobs, like, but they're for me. They're not for, I remember my one surgery, somebody asked me, I can't believe, or she didn't ask me, she's like, I can't believe you're getting another boob job for him. And I said, who the hell is him?
Hmm.
Because I'm doing it for me.
Hmm.
Like, it
Hmm.
makes me happy. I don't
Yeah.
care. I
Yeah.
really don't. I don't care if somebody like, don't like, mm-mm. So it doesn't mean that just because, oh, she made a joke about this, it means that I am asking to be groped. I am not.
Here's the other thing that I hear. I am curious to know, how many people, like, we do need to do a lot because these little subtle
You got
things,
to write these down so we remember.
yeah. With some pilots, the female pilots, it seems that they feel a little more pressure to go out when you land somewhere and say you have an overnight or something to entertain or go out with the male pilots if they want to
Like
go,
go drinking, right?
like the captain. Yeah, if he's like, well,
Mhm.
let's go get a drink, let's go have dinner. And maybe it happens to men as well, where you feel like I need to go do what he tells me to do because I want, especially maybe in a contract situation where you want to get called again to do a
Mhm.
flight. Then, or let's go dancing, or let's go out, and then you're kind of like, I don't.
Well, that was the other thing I thought of, like, is if, let's say whether it's regional, like private, charter, anything, if he does down in the cockpit, and let's say, we're starving, we got to get to the hotel, like, who is he, what steps would he go farther to, think that, like, oh, she smiled at me. Like, my personality is bubbly. A lot of people think I'm flirting, and I'm not.
Mhm.
And the people that I would flirt with, they would have no idea because I'm like, cat, a squirrel, like you. Like, I do not actually flirt with people, but
Mhm.
my personality is flirtatious.
Mhm.
It's just, I don't think it's flirtatious. I think it's bubbly. It's me. But, like right now, I'm not hitting on you, Natalie. Maybe I am. But, but like, for somebody to like, I've had that happen where because I try to be kind to people. I try to, like, when you see somebody, like, I try to compliment somebody, but it turns around and people think that I'm like, guy asked
You're
me,
being overly friendly or you're being
yeah, yeah,
flirtatious.
like a
Yeah.
guy asked me for my phone number at the gas station. It's like I held the door open for you. I was
That doesn't
it's
mean I'm ready
weird.
to hook up.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think my husband would really like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think so.
But like, what if you are flying with this guy and then,
They're like, hey, let's
you
go out
know,
to eat or get, and
mhm,
you really just
like,
want to
and
go
it
back to
could
your
just
room.
be
And like,
going out to eat. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, or I just don't want to
Mhm.
go out to eat, but you feel like, well, maybe I should go out to eat because I want to be friendly and I want to, I don't know. It's just,
No, but like this situation happened. I flew down with someone to Sun and Fun. I picked him up in Virginia. And it wasn't planned. He was riding with someone else. The person that I was gonna go with had canceled the morning of, and I obviously have still yet to work on my instrument rating, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to make it. And my friend Ed, fly to the Northeast, he's like, I'm picking up Julian, and he said a pilot that she knows. And so he's like, he is a pilot. I don't know anything about him yet. And here he flies Vision Jets for, that's his job. So it worked out for me as it was instrument the whole way down. So I definitely needed somebody. But we got there early, before we could get to our house. And I was like, I am just thankful that you were able to, switch your plans, not fly with them, but be willing to fly with me. And I said, I'm the hotel's on me. I was so thankful that he was willing to change his plans just to get the Sun and Fun. And then we went to dinner that night. We both were exhausted. I drank, but like what he didn't assume that my personality was me hitting on him. Me having a drink and having dinner with him was not hitting on him.
Yeah.
Me staying in the same hotel was not hitting on him.
Yeah.
I had just had well, I didn't just have surgery, but I was still recovering. And like when I walked too much, I got swollen and stuff like that. And he carried my bags all the way into my room. It didn't mean that he was allowed to stay in my room. There were no boundaries crossed. And a friendship, obviously, I adore him now. But I had met him that day. But he never, and he's single. He was single. I don't know why, but he's a catch. But like,
well, what's his name and number? Maybe someone would be interested.
Exactly. And he flies the Vision Jet. Okay, baby. But like, that was nothing. There were no lines ever crossed. We had a blast laughing and the whole way down. But it was not implied in any way on either side.
That's nice. So you can just like be friends and just have a good time and not worry about.
So I feel like, what if that was in a different situation and you felt like, oh my god, this guy keeps bumping and he's doing it on purpose, or like, and then you do need to go eat and he's got the loaner car, like, and then he knows what room you're in, he knows, like, but
you wind up saying, well, I really got some work to do in the room, and then you wind up at the same restaurant together.
Exactly. Right. And so like,
but really it's like, I shouldn't have to explain. If I don't want to go to dinner with you, I just don't want to go. It's not like
I want to DoorDash. I listen, a lot of people, I'll DoorDash in a hotel, and I just watch Netflix or whatever. I don't, you think that I'm bubbly, but like, there are times that I just want to be by myself. So yeah, it's
okay.
just
So
a weird
totally
thing.
different subject. This brought up a point my boyfriend and I were talking about. And I read this somewhere. Do you consider yourself extroverted or introverted? Do you know how
What do you mean, how to know?
Well, I've heard that if you're introverted, you get your energy like recharged when you can be alone. If you're extroverted, you get your energy and you get recharged when you're around other people.
I just thought it was like, which describes you best. I didn't think about energy.
Do you think describes you best?
Before COVID, I loved being, going even just to a wedding. Like I was pumped for any event that I could go to. Any gala.
Like the event or just being around a bunch of people?
No, I think, okay, it's probably me being super weird saying this, but like when it was like a gala, I just was so excited to dress up. I'm like, ooh, it's fun, it's different. Then COVID happened, and now I'm just like, oh my god, please don't invite me. Like, so I feel like, so I didn't think about it being as energy, but yes. So like going to Sun and Fun, going to Oshkosh, I don't want to hang out at the beer tent. I
Mhm.
don't want to, I don't, I, so I definitely need alone time to
Yeah.
like decompress.
Yeah.
My husband definitely, we're like complete opposites, but like we could go to a wedding and I'm ready to do shots and he's like, we're leaving. Like he's like, "Well, we did our thing. We came, we ate, we danced, we're going
Yeah.
home."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not like Sun or Hashgosh is like where I get to meet up with all the people that, my followers and people I follow and have a great time. But while I'm there, I'm just like, I want to be in bed.
Mhm.
I don't want to be here. I
Oh, I
don't
like
want to
little
be,
doses. I like small
yeah,
doses of being around people. I'm definitely introverted and um,
yeah,
but people say, "How can you be introverted and be on so put yourself on social media like that?" But it's kind of like
interesting.
this alter ego kind of thing where you can be your fun,
Yeah,
outgoing self, but
yeah.
you're not actually in front of people. You're actually just in front of
No,
your phone,
I know.
you know?
Yeah, I met up with a guy yesterday at the airport. He's in the Air Force over at McGuire. And I was like, his little boy was there. And I was like, "Oh, do you want to go on a golf cart ride?" Because he had said his son loves cars, and he's like, "I just bring him to the airport, hoping he's gonna want to look at the airplanes." And he had so much fun in the golf cart, this kid. But when I was done, I was like, "Oh, can I tag you?" Because I wanted to do like put his son like waving at a plane
Yeah.
on the airport page. And he was like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "What's your Instagram?" And was grocery shopping. And you know me, if my ringer's off, so I don't respond to texts right away because I don't see them.
Mhm.
And I sent him my Instagram, and at night, like when I saw it, he's like, "Oh, I didn't know I was next to a celebrity today," or something like that. And I'm like, you're not, but okay." But it's just funny that like, you can walk around and it because we've both been together. You can walk around Oshkosh and people are like, "Dude, somebody asked you to sign their hat last year."
Yeah.
Like, to us, it's just funny because we're like, in the end, we're just pilots. Like,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I do it because I like showing aviation to people that actually aren't familiar with the fact that you don't have to go into the airlines if you don't want to. I just like showing all that. When people I'm like, "Oh my God," you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Instagram, I was like, Joe and I were like the first, I believe Bruno as well. Joe, me, and Bruno were the first group that Instagram paid, and we were banking like the first,
Really? Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Why was I not in on that?
when it first started. I think Cooper actually said something about it before once.
Mhm.
I'd said like we were banking, and she's like, "Oh, you couldn't have made that because you would have had to have all this." And I'm like, "No, you're not realizing is I don't think Instagram realized when they offered it that we would like produce, and
Yeah.
then they started changing all the rules and all the stipulations, and it got
Yeah.
tighter and tighter and tighter.
Um,
There was so much money coming into Instagram or to like, because they were like, you can put out as many posts as you want. So we did. But
yeah.
now it kept getting lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser. By the time Instagram was claiming they were going to stop paying people, um, the rules were so tight, and you had to have like millions of views, and I was only posting stuff just to post it. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I gotta post it. I don't care what it is. But
Mhm.
it's just funny that like the only reason I have so much on my page was because, for what, 3 or 4 years I was just getting paid. And
Nice. Yeah.
well, it would pay for my Oshkosh, it paid for stuff. So it
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I hope they bring it back because I mean, for the ones that actually, are producing,
Yeah.
it's
They
funny
probably
that
won't though.
no. Well, and the thing is, we all stopped doing like we could produce, I keep saying that word, but we could put so much stuff out there,
Mhm.
and then as soon as we were not getting paid, even like I was like Joe Burnett, we're like, well, I don't have to try anymore. Like I don't,
Yeah.
there's no content that I have to do.
Yeah.
It's like
A
it
lot of
is what
work.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it's just like I was only posting to get paid, but now it's just it's funny. I don't know how to explain what's going on with Instagram now because I'm not on
Well,
TikTok.
I think you just got to use it for fun
Oh,
and like don't think that it's going to be like a money making thing. I mean, if it is, that's great. But
well, it was. I
do it if you
definitely was
enjoy it, you
enjoying it.
know?
Yes, yes. Because I was going to pay or I was going to post stuff anyway.
Hmm.
So might as well get paid for what I was going to post.
Yeah.
When in the beginning, when they were banking out the money, it was like whatever we could post, like,
Yeah.
like throw it up there, throw it up there,
Yeah.
throw it up there. If you talk to anybody that was in that first group, they, you know, I mean, it was an incredible time to think that you were cool and an influencer
Hmm.
because I am not either. And
You are
but
cool
then
and you are an
but then the
influencer.
money just kept getting shorter and shorter and smaller, and I'm like, whatever. It brought us group together. It brought a lot of people, but I don't check my messages often. I don't know if you do. I never check my DMs.
I do sometimes, and only like I have a few regulars, you know, that respond to
Mhm.
certain things, and we talk back and forth. And then there's like some weird ones, and then
Yeah.
there's a lot of weird ones,
Mhm.
and then there's like business ones where they want you to pay to.
Oh, yeah,
Or,
no, don't yeah. They'll be like, "Oh, get this many followers," and it's
yeah.
like, "What?" But your, like, fake followers aren't actually following you then, they're not real people. What's
Hmm.
the point? Is it just for a number?
Hmm.
Like, if people aren't liking my posts, then that doesn't help me. Just
Right.
this just because
You
it
can have a
says I
bunch of
have
followers, but you've got to have people that are actually
looking
responding and liking your post.
right, because yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then I get, ones where I thought that they were actually asking me, like, something about Cirrus and, like, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll accept the chat." And then within, like after I say my spiel of, like, "Oh, I wouldn't recommend this one, I'd recommend this one if you have, kids and and then it's like, "I like your boobs."
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, "Damn it, I accepted the chat."
Mhm. Yeah.
So then I'm blocking that person. I mean, I do think that social media, it's funny because we meet up with random strangers that we just met like when we're supposed to. We don't get in the car with strangers, but here we are getting into airplanes with strangers. I definitely love that social media really it brought us together. I mean,
I think
and
it's
I,
good for
yeah.
especially special interest groups that
Hmm.
you know, we all go to the same kind of air shows and we all kind of like the same kind of things. So,
Hmm.
well, we talked about a lot of stuff. If you're a woman and you have some experience in the cockpit, that's like, how did you deal with some
Hmm.
of the egos maybe that you find in the cockpit? How do you make a good relationship with your male co-pilot or pilot where you have this mutual respect for each other, but you can also have fun? Like it doesn't need to be like stiff and businesslike all the time. You want to have fun with this person, but not keep those boundaries there as well. So I'll be interested to hear kind of everybody's
Absolutely.
experience. But
Yeah.
it was great chatting with you. I hope you get all your contract stuff done. And
I don't hear any work now. So,
I haven't heard anything, so it's been pretty
oh,
quiet.
oh wait, real quick, you going to Oshkosh? Or you're not
Yes.
sure? Oh, baller. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will be in bed by 7 at Oshkosh, but so we'll just meet up in between. Okay.
Well, I'll be in bed from about 9 till about 7 the next day, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Have a good
All
day.
right.
All
See
right.
ya.
Cheers.